Alright, seeing how fast I can build a 5-inch drone. I do have the motors on it already in the ESC, so I do have the frame built, and a small advantage, but besides that, I am definitely going to see how fast I can build 5-inch. I feel like this is one of the most important parts, is pre-soldering everything. When you start soldering, be sure you can solder all kinds of stuff. You don't want to just pull out your solder gun to solder one wire. You want to pull out your solder gun to solder a lot of stuff. That's if you want to be fast at it. I already see something I forgot, which is the top plate and the battery lead. I'll have to grab those. God, that sounds so weird. I had somebody on my YouTube channel say they wanted to see more soldering videos, so you can pretty much see everything I'm doing right here when it comes to soldering. Alright, I've got to find my lead. what did Evan do with it? Did you see what he done with the freaking bag for the ESC?
No.
I think you would set them right here. Oh my goodness. Boss man, hold me down. What the hell? How can it go any further than that? Well, that's going to slow me down. Oh, I've got to improvise. And I can't because I don't have any. That sucks.
I don't know where they went either.
I bet you put them out here. What the hell? I'm interrupting. Over here. Well, that sucks. He said all the ones that he mounted were the ESCs were already out of the bag. No, I found one. All right, so you seen a slight cut there, and the reason why you seen a slight cut there is because they misplaced my ESC wires for the lead. Or I might leave it in there, I don't know. But continuing on. Yes, I just measured that with my thumbs. Here is the hardest part in soldering any build, is attaching your lead wires for the XT60. And everybody's got their own little trick to doing their own. Carter's is putting just a little bit of solder on the pad. I put a little bit more than Carter, I believe, because I think Carter just barely puts his on, but what I do is I tap it like this, and that causes the rosin to not burn up, and that way you got plenty of flux on there. But you got to be careful, because you can leave like little solder balls whenever you're doing this, so you always have to inspect it after doing a XT60 lead. And I'm sure Carter does the same thing. I'm sure he inspects his after he does his XT60 lead, because a solder ball can kill a freaking ESC pretty easily. And if you have ESCs going bad, new ESCs going bad, it's normally due to a freaking solder ball that you missed. But I pre-solder both of them, and then I stick it on the pad, and then I give a little bit more after sticking it on the pad. There we go. You see these solder balls? I'm going to just knock those off. Look underneath it. Look all around. And make sure it's nice and clean. Then we're going to take this capacitor and bend our leads down like that. Trim them up. You always want to make sure your ESC or your capacitor leads are in the garbage, because they're perfect for going in a brushless motor and stopping it from moving. Now I'm just going to push that down into there on both sides. Make sure you got negative on negative, positive on positive. There we go. We got a beautiful one right there. And then we'll just take this, bend it down flat. There. Inspect again, make sure we ain't got no solder balls. It looks good to me. Alright. Flight controller. So this Lucid flight controller, all the pads are on the bottom of the flight controller. So we decided that we're just going to go ahead and install the flight controller upside down and rearrange it in configuration, because we want to have access to all the pads. So if you're watching this and you make flight controllers, or you know somebody that makes flight controllers, and you can give some input, the input would be make sure all of the solder pads are on top of the flight controller, not on the bottom. Because here is the top and here is the bottom. But they decided to do all the solder pads on the bottom for some reason. So I'm flipping it around and making the top the bottom. Something else I've noticed, if you twist your link wires for your from your ESC to your flight controller, if you twist them a bunch, it can cause problems. So I just put one turn in them and kind of tuck them away and make sure I don't pinch them off or anything. Alright, so now we need a receiver. We're going to be using Crossfire on this application. They want an Immortal T antenna, so we're going to be using an Immortal T. They want a GPS, so we're going to add a GPS unit. You can set the GPS separate over here. Grab my Crossfire and LRS. Normally you can just turn them upside down and do ground, positive, TX and RX. And the way, everybody's got their own way of doing this, but most of the applications out there, they're going to be ground is black, .5 volt is red, TX is white, RX is yellow. And here's you an easy way to tell whether you got a Carter build and a Skip build. If you look at the receiver, Carter is going to do his RX in white, and Skip is going to do his RX in yellow. But I mean, there's a lot of times that we both have our hands on most of the builds. I'm just saying, who soldered it up, you can probably tell by the flight controller. Wouldn't you say it's a good...
The receiver?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good tell. Add the antenna.
You know what I just realized AM32 sounds like when it boots up?
What's that?
Listen. Here we go. It sounds like DJI.
Really?
I just realized.
Does it really? Now, anytime you're doing a hot gun for shrink wrap, you don't want to put it on there too long because you could actually melt the wire or melt the components off of it. So some double-sided tape on it. So now I'm going to tuck away this crossfire. I've got nice tight wires to reduce noise. I'm going to put some double-sided tape on the bottom here, and I'm going to tuck this away onto the frame.
Here, listen real quick, Skip.
Yeah.
Here's DJI. And then AM32.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same, basically.
Right. So there we go. It's nice and tucked away right there. And I'm just going to bring this around like this and cut it right there. That's all the wire you need. Now, I've got this one measured out. So I'm not going to lie. I've got this one already measured out with a piece of wire here. And I'm going to pre-cut this to the length that I have predetermined, and I'm keeping that wire for future builds. Alright, let's start soldering. Oh yeah, I want to remove the insulation on my receiver wire. And you just want the tip, so if you remove a little bit too much insulation, you can cut the wire just a little bit. No big deal. Alright, now we can start soldering. So to pre-solder with this thin coating insulation that's not silicone, it's best to just put the solder on it and start doing it, and it will just kind of melt its way and pre-solder at the same time. You can do that with camera wires. It's that plastic coating type wire. It melts to heat, so super easy to pre-tin. So now I'm going to go to R1. I always do R1 on receiver, because what's the first thing you turn on a drone? That's going to be your receiver. So the first thing you turn on, or the controller is going to be the first thing you turn on. So I'm always going to make that the first thing that I solder up to R1.
See Evan's ball dead.
That's what makes sense to me. Make sure you do RX to TX every time. That is the most common thing that people miss. It's no big deal to miss it, but you can prevent it by remembering what color you made RX and what color you made TX. Here's our GPS wire. We're going to twist it up, make it all nice and neat. You notice I'm not holding the plug, I'm holding the wire whenever I twist. That way I don't mess up any of the wires in the plug itself. SCL to SDL, SCL to SCL, SDA to SDA on GPS. Same with RX to TX. TX to RX. Ground to ground. Hot to hot. There we go. Make sure everything's all nice and neat and twisted. This is going to run to the back, so I'm going to make it like go to the back right here. Put our GPS on it. Now, once we have our GPS and our receiver on it, I want to do a test plug. So, what I do is I grab my smoke stopper and I grab my 6S battery, plug it in, turn it on. I've got power to my GPS and I've got power to my crossfire. Everything looks nice. Got starting tones. I believe we're good to go. Dadgummit. Drop the camera again. Sorry, guys. Alright. Now we can start putting standoffs on. That's a good thing to find would be standoffs. Alright, so here's a top plate. Screws. And standoffs. And I dropped you guys again. Alright, here we go. So I'm just going to drop the screws, 2 front screws in for the 2 front standoffs. Hold them with my fingers. Make sure you don't pinch any wires in between your standoffs. So here is our crossfire antenna holder. I'm going to carefully put that on. Just like, yep, It's going to go in between there like that. Then over the standoffs. I'm just going to slide right down in there. There we go. It's in there. Everything's nice and even. Looks good. We can curl that around inside there like that. Make sure it doesn't hang out. I'm going to pin it just like that. Okay, and so this is our mounting system for our what Mads Tech likes to call your ear unit. So we're gonna use the 04 ear unit.
God.
Well, you don't like it called the ear unit?
The care nectar.
It goes in the. It's called the ear unit. Which I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use this freaking screwdriver. Which using tools.
To get an idea how long it's going to take, that's how many I'm doing.
Right.
And I'm doing it as fast as like the best way I've found out to do it so far.
So using tools for your advantage is not really cheating, I don't guess. But
No.
this thing is made of PET G, and it's a pain in the butt
It
to
helps a lot.
put
doesn't it?
screws in. Yeah.
Yeah, I told you that part was like really a pain.
Dadgummit, this thing, these screws still don't hold on here too well. Probably easier just to get them all started and then screw them in.
That's exactly how I did it. Get it started and then do all of them.
Mm-hmm. There we go. And I haven't done this part yet, so it look like I'm a little slow at it. It's because we are doing this together for the first time. Here's an 04 unit. Here's the little packet you're supposed to eat.
You do use the camera screws that comes with it.
Okay. Little bag of goodies here. We'll open that up and dump it out and see what we got.
Oh yeah, there's one more thing I could show you.
Okay. Do you use the mounting system that comes with the camera?
That plastic thing?
Yeah.
It has to go on it, yeah.
Okay.
You see what I mean? It clicks on there really good.
All right. USB port up or down?
Do the air unit. Flip it over. Have it like that on the plate. Where's the top
like
plate?
this?
Yeah, like that.
Okay.
Yep. And then turn the antenna around. That's what I do.
Okay. It goes this way, right?
Yep, like that way, and then it still goes that way.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's just so it doesn't pull on it.
Yeah.
I was rerouting all of them like that. Oh, that's the first one that didn't do the thing. Or that weird.
That weird alert.
Yeah.
So here we go. We're going to mount this. There's our mount. You got some nuts, Carr? The way I do these nuts is I just push them down to get the gummies to catch. Like I just squeeze it, and then you don't want them to be too tight because you don't want them to fall off either, but you don't want them to be squeezed way too tight. So I just do it like that. That one's a little too tight. There we go. So we're going to build this plate. This plate is going to go like this, I believe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. With the antenna still at the back.
Yep. And then we have our GPS mount. And we'll take our GPS and slide that in like this. There we go. Put that on top. Then we're going to start our screws in that. And we've got holes for the screws going through. Alright, I'm going to get one started here. Like this. Okay, making sure the mount fits nice and snug on there. And then we are going to go ahead and install our camera case here. And I hear that the camera, you want to be kind of careful with the camera and everything. So, alright, we got the camera in there, and then we're going to install the MIPI goes down, right, Carter?
Hmm?
The MIPI goes down is the bottom?
Down?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the bottom?
No, other way.
Other way.
Mm-hmm.
MIPI goes up. Okay, so the MIPI goes up on an 04 unit. Didn't know that. I thought it was the other way around. It's all good. And then we're going to install our screws here. And these are special screws just for this mount. So there's instructions. We don't need that. Now, I'm not just throwing stuff on the floor over here. I've got a trash can right next to me. So I say we're going to set it close to the maximum angle here. Just snug them up on there. We don't want to make them super tight. Alright, now my antenna is going to go through there, just like that. Alright. We got our ear unit. It's on there. Now I'm going to take my DJI cord and kind of twist it up a little bit. Make it nice and neat. Alright, and then it plugs into the back. So I'm going to take my tweezers and plug it in to the back. Alright, we got our ear unit plugged in. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to run my GPS cable through the top here. That way things are all nice and neat. There's my GPS cable. Alright, drop our antenna down. Drop our camera in. Now, everything is fitting nice. Now, I did drop a screw, but I have another one, I think, somewhere here. No, I'm going to grab it off the floor. Just grab one of these for now. Alright, now this is our flip fin. We're going to put our flip fin on with our front screw, standoff screw. Line everything up. Make sure there's no wires being pinched or anything when you do this. You just want to be kind of extra careful when installing everything. You don't want any wires to be pinched on anything when you mount this down. It's called taking care through the whole build. And there we go. We have a LightSwitch HD 04 unit with GPS. And there is the whole build. This one's got crossfire. Everything's soldered up. I will be going through and making sure all of my screws are nice and tight through the whole build, because the last thing you want is to send one out that's got screws that are loose. And you don't have to make sure they're super tight, you just want them snug, so whenever it arrives to somebody or whenever you use it, you know it's not just going to be falling apart, you know. So I usually go and try every screw on the build at least once. For the second time, like, or after the build's done, make sure. See, look there, that one was loose. There we go. Now every screw is tight. I'm happy with that. And we have a complete LightSwitch HD with an 04 unit in crossfire, and just a beautiful build right here with Champion Motors. Alright guys, there you go.